Welcome back.
Hello?
Yes, we are back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Do you want to continue or you had finished? You're concluding, you're concluding on health. Before we
on health, I was saying that we have very qualified people in this country, and those people should be allowed to lead in the area of procurement, of medication, procurement of equipment, and also the distribution of the procured material, because they know, those that are in the health sector know the different requirements and the different expertise that we have, in particular provincial hospitals. So we have to involve our key health officials in procuring equipment and in procuring medication. And we should actually stem out corruption. You know, this idea, I was really shocked one day when I saw a tender advertised by the Ministry of Health. The tender was starting at 8 o'clock on a particular day and ending on the same day at 4 o'clock. What kind of a tender is floated for less than 9 hours? I haven't seen it anywhere.
So it's a matter of optics.
Yeah, it's a matter of trying to sanitize the corruption that will be going. Those tenders, I think, admittedly, would have been given prior to their being floated.
Okay, so I'm sure you're also following up on comments and questions from people. Some people are asking that why can't you just hold forces as all opposition parties and be a one body and then fight the current government? Why can't you join hold hands with Chamisa? There's a comment there.
I'll be very honest, and this is something that I've never come out publicly to say, but because you've asked, I think I will be brutally honest and tell you that if there is any Zimbabwean that has tried to bring different political forces together, it has been me. Before Mnangagwa formally launched his Pollard, I personally took the pains to talk to different political leaders in this country. I spoke to Nelson Chamisa himself. I spoke to Dr. Noah Manyika. I spoke to Dr. Shumba of the United Democratic Alliance on the need, actually, really, to form a big grouping in order to counter what Mnangagwa was doing with Pollard. I then also even went to the extent of seeing some ambassadors from the region and briefing them on that idea. But we didn't find traction, especially on the side of the MDC. By that time, they were telling us that they were preparing for their June or May Congress, and we gave them time to finish on their Congress. But unfortunately, the kind of a reaction that we got from them was that if we form such kind of a big umbrella term, we run the risk of being infiltrated by ZANU-PF, and that thing will be infiltrated by ZANU-PF before it even takes over. So if there is that thinking, then I don't know how the MDC will get involved with anyone other than themselves. If they think coming together will create avenues for ZANU-PF to infiltrate them. But I think ZANU-PF already infiltrated some of the MDC, and they've bought some of their officials. I'm also one of the people that were among the very first people that raised the disquiet over the what I saw as an unhealthy relationship between the junta and one of the MDC officials then, and I posted it on Twitter, and I got rebutted really But I was talking of things that I knew. I was talking of conversations that I had with the gentleman, and I could see that he had sold the revolution to the enemy. So if the MDC thinks that they can go it alone, I think there are Zimbabweans that believe, like you do, like I do, that in order for us to form a formidable force against ZANU-PF, we've got to come together, but we should be prepared to come together with people that are prepared to join forces. If there are people that think that by joining forces they are opening avenues for ZANU-PF to infiltrate them, then they can go it alone, and let's see how best they can
So what about the
actually
opposition parties like Mawarire, or are they forthcoming?
No, but we couldn't talk to Linda Mawarire because Linda Mawarire by that time was part of the Thokozani Coupe political party, which was in Poland, and we really understood that the MDCT and Thokozani Coupe was a ZANU-PF appendage, and no one else but Linda Mawarire actually confirmed that they were being funded by ZANU-PF. So we had no reason actually to engage with them.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mawarire. But before you go, a lot of people are asking, so what do we do? They want to hear from you, the state of the nation. You have tried to explain. Some people will come in and come out. They feel like we have not said much. We cannot repeat ourselves. The full video will be on YouTube, but I don't know, maybe there is something you'd want to say to encourage people, or for our conclusion, parting words.
What I would like to say is that we are in a race, but this race is not a sprint. It's a marathon. We need really to prepare. We need really to mobilize resources as opposition political forces, because there is no way we are going to do political work without the necessary resources in terms of the people that we are supposed to be using to mobilize, in terms of the monies that we would need actually to buy the necessary equipment that would want in our mobilization strategy. But key to what should be done in this country is for the people. You know, if you are embarking on a war, the first war that you should embark on is to ideologically win the minds of the people. And you do that by making sure that people realize that the people that took over power in November 2017, who purport to be protecting the legacy of the liberation struggle, are not doing that. But what they are doing is protecting the things that they looted, protecting the monies that they looted from diamonds in Chiadzwa, protecting the monies that they looted from diamonds in DRC. And these are people that have nothing to do with the democratization agenda in this country. And we should take it upon ourselves, and Zimbabweans, whether they are in the rural areas or in the urban areas, should actually realize that the opposition in this country has potential to safeguard the liberation struggle in this country. If anything, you can't have a group of people who are now 70-year-olds claiming that they are the only ones that can preserve the territorial integrity of this country and the ethos of the liberation struggle, because they are never going to be here forever. We have to accept that even the opposition political parties in this country are a Zimbabwean opposition. We are Zimbabweans. We are patriotic. We are nationalists who have a burning desire of wanting to democratize the country, of wanting our citizens to enjoy the rights, the civil liberties that our forefathers died fighting for in the first and second Chimrenga. So we are here to preserve the liberation struggle, the ethos of the liberation struggle. And the ethos of the liberation struggle was actually making each and every Zimbabwean count. Each and every Zimbabwean, whether you are a woman, whether you are Karanga, whether you are Ndebele, whether you are Manika, We are all equal before the Constitution. And most importantly, the Constitution that we came up with in 2013, and this is something that, that a lot of people actually attacked me for raising, that we can't have a system that is promoting ethnicism. If you look at it now, the government in Zimbabwe is filled with karangas. It's karanga everywhere. You go to the chief secretary of cabinet, karanga. The deputy is karanga. The chief of protocol is karanga. Every minister that matters, the minister of mines, the minister of defense, all those are karanga. You can't have that. Section 18 of the Constitution says that there should be regional balance in the allocation of positions in government. And that is a constitutional provision. And when we are raising that, we are not raising a tribal card, we are raising a constitutional provision. Section 17 of the Constitution also provides that there should be gender equity in the populating of every government, every tier of government, whether it is cabinet, whether it is parliament, whether it is in independent commissions. We should have equal gender representation in those commissions. And this, again, is a constitutional provision. So when we raise the issue of karangas dominating cabinet, karangas dominating every government position, we are not raising a tribal issue, but we are raising a constitutional issue. The constitution of this country, anyone who dares want to read the constitution of the country, and precisely section 18 of the Constitution, it says that there should be regional balance in the allocation of government positions in this country. And that's what we want to see. We don't want a president who appoints his cronies, who appoints his clansmen, who appoints people that come from the same totem as he is. Anyone who is a Sivanda is made leader of commander defense forces. Anyone who is a Sivanda is cabinet is made the chief secretary of cabinet. You can't be appointing your kith and kin. You can't be appointing all your relatives to key government officials.
But was it not the same as well? Was it not the same as well with President Mugabe?
Then does that make it right?
That's my point. That's my point exactly. That at the end of the day, you know that this started with President Mugabe. You were with President Mugabe in his last days, and now Mnangagwa is doing this. So when you are saying that you started NPF with President Mugabe, then what confidence are you giving in people that you are not?
Yeah, but at least if you look at President Mugabe, he appointed Emerson Mnangagwa is VP, and Emerson Mnangagwa is Karanga. He had a chief secretary who is Karanga. He had ministers from Mashonaland West, occupying key government positions. And the first thing, if you ask people that worked with President Mugabe, he was very particular about ensuring that every province was represented when he was making cabinet appointments. I will give you one particular example. That is very telling about how Mnangagwa is actually allocated government positions in this country. It's not even the issue about people coming from Masvingo, but it's also the issue of people coming from one district, particularly the district where you come from Gutu. You have how many ministers from Gutu? Everyone who is an MP from Gutu is either a minister or a chief whip in Zanu PF. You have even people that lost elections, that lost primary elections in Zanu PF, who come from Gutu, who have been appointed ministers. You have Chitando, who is Minister of Mines, is from Gutu. You have Mawarire, Aman Mawarire, who lost primary elections. He's a minister. You have Chadzamira, state minister. You have Deputy Minister Matuke. You have Honorable Simbane Gali, she's a deputy minister. You have Muskwere, he's a minister. All those people are from Gutu. You have Deputy Chief Secretary Martin Rushwaya is from Gutu. You have the Chief of Protocol Chitsaka. He's also from Gutu. And you can't tell us that there's out of the 67 districts that you have in this country. Only Gutu provides you with national leaders of different skill, different educational qualifications, and different craft competencies. That's totally unacceptable. You can't have a government that is dominated by people from Gutu, people from Chile, and people from Berengwa. You have 67 districts in this country, and only 3 districts out of the 67 constitute 90% of cabinet positions in this country. That's totally unacceptable. You can't have that. You can't.
All right, so before we leave Mr. Mawarire, I just want you to tell us what your opinion is on Dr. Shingi Munyeza's current utterances against the government as a president's advisor.
Shingi, I think let's leave him. I think you hosted him on this platform. He aired his views, and I think your viewers had an opportunity to actually try to understand.
I'm asking you, my guest, as a politician.
I don't know what exactly he's doing. Honestly, I don't know what exactly he's doing, because I thought he was a member of something called PAC, is it? And he was Mnangagwa. I actually have a problem with someone who has the ear of those that in power. We don't know what they discuss when they are in PAC. I think a lot of people have actually engaged him and tried to find out what is it that they discuss in PAC. He doesn't want to tell us what he discusses in PAC. But when it is convenient for him, or when he's sulking or he's unhappy about something, then he comes out in the open and purports to be to be criticizing his boss. I don't think that's how it should be done. If he's unhappy with the president, he should leave PAC and join us in opposition politics, or make those kind of noises outside being a presidential advisor. You can't have the good of both worlds. You can't have your cake and eat it at the same time. It's either you eat the cake and you don't have it, or you don't eat it and you have it.
He says he's not someone who believes in quitting. He says he's under oath that he cannot discuss what he advises the president, and he says he can only leave if he's fired. However, he says he wants to stay on the table so that he can continue to air his views and try and assist Zimbabweans from within.
You know what it means. If he says he can't disclose what he advises Mnangagwa on, and he goes live on Facebook attacking the same system whose president he advises, you know what it means. Consequently, what it means is that which he says outside the PAC, that he says on Facebook, is totally opposite to what he tells the president. Because if he tells the president in PAC, and he says he has sworn under oath never to disclose what they discuss in PAC, then it can only follow that whatever he is telling us is something that he never says in PAC. Logically, that's what it means. So what does he say when he's in PAC? Because he's saying all the right things when he's outside PAC. He's saying all the right things when he's outside PAC. So he should be saying something totally different when he's at PAC. When he's in the presence of Mnangagwa, he's totally saying something really different. Because if it was the same thing that he says, the things that he says on Facebook, the same things that he disguises as biblical sermons, if those things are the things that he has been discussing at PAC, then he shouldn't be worried telling us what they discuss at PAC, because at least he would just tell us that what we discuss at PAC, what I've advised Mnangagwa on, is exactly the same things that I'm telling you now. I'm doing that because I'm frustrated. I've tried to tell Mnangagwa this and he has not taken it. But if he refuses to tell us what he says at PAC, then he should not fool us. If we really have to extrapolate, use our brains, and begin to understand that he should be telling Mnangagwa completely something different when he's in his presence. And he then wants to masquerade as the champion of democracy and wants every one of us to believe that he's one of us. I think Magaisa made a very telling observation that if you see a tortoise on a lamppost, you should actually ask who has actually taken that tortoise on that lamppost and whose tortoise it is. By the way, because really, if Comrade Mnyeza was advising Mnangagwa correctly and was telling him the sort of things that he's telling us on Facebook, he shouldn't be afraid of telling us that this is exactly the things that they discuss at PAC. But if he doesn't want to tell us what they discuss at PAC, and then he runs on Facebook and says all the right things, then we are intelligent enough to believe that he never says those kinds of things in the presence of Mnangagwa.
Wow.
And it's a logical extrapolation. Anyone with a bit of brains would actually think along those lines. And we will actually begin to be very worried, because you see, not everyone who is calling Zimbabweans to unite, join forces, is doing that for the reasons of advancing democracy in this country. Because we have seen people like Matema Danda, we have seen people like Chris Muchangwa doing that pre the coup in November 2017, joining forces, calling people in the opposition and saying that we have a common enemy, let's come together. But immediately when they took over power, people like Matema Danda were telling us that Mnangagwa will use the military to stay in power. And some of the people in Zanu PF even had the audacity, people like Chinamasa had the audacity even to tell those that gathered on the 18th of November 2017 that this was purely a Zanu PF thing, and all those people that had been mobilized and gathered and were being used to put pressure on Mugabe to resign, they had nothing to do with what was going on. So we are very worried when there are people that are coming from within, people that come, sit with us, purport to be galvanizing everyone against Mnangagwa on one side, then on another day they go and meet Mnangagwa purporting to be advising him, actually saying that we should join forces. We are naturally become very skeptical. If Comrade Mnyeza is not prepared to tell us what he discusses in PAC, then we have every reason to believe that whatever he's saying, whatever he's telling us on Facebook, on Twitter, is completely different from what he tells Mnangagwa when they meet.
And what's your opinion on demonstrations? Do you think it's a good way of citizens expressing themselves?
No, it's not up to me to say that it's good or bad, but it's a constitutional provision. The constitution of this country provides for people to demonstrate, provides for people to hold their government accountable, to hold those that are in power accountable through demonstrations. So whether I see that as good or not, I should be constitutional and observe the Constitution. The Constitution provides for the right for Zimbabwean citizens to demonstrate against anything that they feel is untoward, against any policy that they see is inimical to advancement of civil liberties, is inimical to the growth of the economy, is inimical to their exercise of freedom and happiness in this country. So whether I, as jealous Mawarire, believes that demonstrations are the best way to go forward, it's inconsequential, for as long as the constitution of this country, which is the supreme document that we should respect, provides for that right for Zimbabweans. Those that feel that they need to demonstrate should demonstrate. And this idea that the junta puts a state of emergency under the guise of a COVID lockdown, it should really be resisted. And people should be given a chance to demonstrate against anything that they feel is affecting them as citizens in this country. If it is hunger that they are experiencing on a day-to-day basis, they should be allowed to demonstrate against that, because the hunger is just as potent, if not more potent than COVID-19. She's doing fine.
Okay.
She's doing fine. She stays in the rural areas. I think she's enjoying a bit of fresh air in the rural areas in Zimbabwe. And she's an entrepreneur, you know that. Before she got into politics, you have been to a different business ventures. Very hardworking, very dedicated to what she does, and I think she's doing well. And really, she should be allowed to mourn his husband, her dear husband. And one thing that I actually learned from my interaction with President Mugabe and Mnangagwa was that those people were very close, and the ill health of the old man and the consequent demise of the old man actually had a very huge toll on her. And she should be allowed to rest. She should be allowed to mourn her husband. And she should be allowed to enjoy her business ventures uninterrupted. And we should, as Zimbabweans, give her that kind of space to mourn her husband in peace. Not to unnecessarily violate her rights by the kind of some of the things that we've been seeing, the invasions at the farm, even when the old man was still alive. You can't have illegal gold panels actually purporting to be looking for gold at an investment like a school. You can't have such a situation. If the law cannot provide security to a former president and a former first lady, what more of just ordinary citizens? We can't have a country like that. We can't build a country like that. I don't even foresee a situation where even if President Mnangagwa gets out of power today, I should be condoning people getting into his farm, purporting to be gold panning at his Sherwood farm and disrupting any activities that his wife is undertaking. I don't think that's how we build countries. You don't build a country, you don't build a home, you don't build a society, you don't build a family if you have no respect for your fathers. I believe that President Mugabe is one of our founding fathers. President Mnangagwa also. All the war veterans, we respect them as our fathers, and we really appreciate the kind of work that they did during the liberation struggle. The only thing that we don't agree with them is this sense of entitlement, where they say because we fought for the liberation of this country, therefore we should be ruling until all of us we die. And some of them, in the name of being war veterans, they embark on nefarious activities. Some of them lately are stealing oranges from people's farms. Some of them confessing that they were stealing peas, beans, and potatoes during the liberation struggle. Those are the things that we don't want. We don't want the liberation war fighters of this country, the people that we're supposed to be revering, actually being known for looting the country's resources, for being involved in nefarious activities. We don't want that. We want those that went to war to demonstrate that they are selfless, that they are nationalists, that they have the interest of the country at heart. But what we have seen now, and I'll give you one thing before we close as an example. One of the things that really pains me is that those people that embarked on the coup, took over power, took over the state, took over government, actually have used that position to loot national resources and actually to drive even soldiers have been driven out of business. I've said that it's not good for soldiers to be in business, but it doesn't give the political leadership of this country and the so-called members of the command element to be using their newly acquired positions to take over mining activities, mining farms in this country. And one example I will give you is the Great Dyke investments. You know, Penn East mining company, which was wholly owned by Rusununguko Holdings, which is an army entity. Their mine was taken away by the members of the so-called command element in partnership with the Russians, and that happened in a day, just one day. The owners of Pan East a mining company were requested to make a valuation of their mine, and they provided information that the mine was worth 38 million, and they provided that information at around 11 o'clock, and by 2 p.m. money had been transferred from a company that is owned by some dubious so-called members of the command element and some people that are now purported to be Mr. Zimbabweans, together with Russian miners, and they took over that mine. You can't have a country where one family, where one clique is taking over every form of business, including passenger buses. You can't have the president's relatives buying buses and operating buses in this country. Those are business activities that should be left to those that are starting business to provide those services in this country. But you can't have a president that is selling eggs, a president that is selling milk, a president that is running combis, a president that is running buses, a president that is into mining of gold, a president that is into mining of platinum. You can't have that. That's not why those people went to war. They went to war in order to bring a democratic and free Zimbabwe and create an economic environment where Zimbabweans should, all of us, be able to participate in economic activities unhindered. And we can't have people that have government positions using those positions actually to unfairly compete with people that are starting, people that are running combis. You have a whole president running combis and competing with the jealous Mawarire who imported a pan vehicle from Japan. That's not how we should run a country. We shouldn't be doing that. And we respect war veterans for what they did. But when they become orange thieves, when they start stealing diamonds, we begin to really question them. And we are not questioning why they went to war, but we are questioning the criminal activities that they are embarking on, and on the basis that they are war veterans. We can't have such a situation. We know that the liberation struggle was fought in order to bring about a democratic and free Zimbabwe where everyone should be enjoying, not only those that carried guns. Mawarire akaimba imwe song inonzi Govanai. And he said, you can't be rewarding only those that were holding the plow. What about those that were driving the cattle? What about those that were sowing the seeds? What about those that were cooking for those that were working in the fields? We all fought for the liberation of this country. So when it comes to enjoying the national cake, everyone should enjoy that. Hatingati vabati vegejo chete ndo vaku benefita. Ko vakushi vembeu nevatyairi vemombe mavakanganwa ere. Akaimba achidaro mukoma po Mawarire. And I think that was very telling. And I think that's the reason why even that song, you don't hear it being played on national radio. He said, Governor, we fought for the liberation of this country. Some of us, even as young as when I was 5 years, I learned to say, down with neocolonialism. And we did our own part. We are doing our own part for the democratization of this country. Even people like Tsvangirai have done their own part for the democratization of this country. People like Nelson Chamisa have done their part for the democratization of this country. They are nationalists, they are Zimbabweans, they are patriotic Zimbabweans who have a burning desire to see that every one of us should benefit from what this country provides for us in terms of the mineral resources, in terms of the opportunities, job opportunities, and investment opportunities that we have. We can't have a situation where only Chinese are allowed to invest in this country. We can't have a situation where only the British are allowed to invest in this country because they supported the coup. No, that's not right. That's not okay. We have Zimbabweans that have the money. We have Zimbabweans that have the expertise. We have the Zimbabweans that have the drive to invest in this country. And what government should be doing, and the Chinese government is doing that very well, is to empower their citizens. If the government has money, why doesn't it empower the young people of this country so that they go into mining, so that they go into farming? You know, Ras Al Khaimah has a budget of more than 4 billion. They have a budget of more than 4 billion that they had actually given to Zimbabwe for Zimbabwe to provide horticulture products. And they had said we can actually fund about 300 farmers. And those farmers will be dedicated towards producing for that market alone. And imagine 300 farmers bringing in 4 billion. That's more than the total amount, the total budget in US dollar terms on which we are operating as a country. But that can be raked in by just 300 commercial farmers, horticulture commercial farmers. That would be only supplying just one market, Ras Al Khaimah. And those kind of things can be done if there's political will for the government to support those farmers. And in any case, this government was not even supposed to be providing the monies. The Ras Al Khaimah had said that we will equip those farmers. And and researches had been done, and that was during the time of Maimi Juru, and that has been open even to the so-called new dispensation, which I believe is a new dispersion. That provision is still there. The money to support those 300 farmers is still there. What is lacking is political will to empower the generality of the people in Zimbabwe. But we are having a situation where the government is actually empowering just one person. You have Tabwire all over. He's opening hospitals. He's giving his brother-in-law money to buy all the trucks that you see on the road. The haulage trucks, they are theirs. They are into mining. They are into every sector of the economy. You can't have one person running this whole country. That's not it. That's unacceptable. We should have that drive by the government to empower the young people of this country so that they put in the expertise that they have. Zimbabweans are very hardworking. Wherever they are renowned for being hardworking. I've seen a lot of young people doing tremendously very great things from limited resources. And if the government supports those people, we can build a first world economy in this country as long as we have political will. But we don't have that political will. And I don't believe the current crop of people have the capacity actually to usher us into a dispensation where the government, those that in government, are there not to enrich themselves, but to create a conducive environment for business to thrive. And they should be kicked out, if you ask me. That's the only solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for pouring your heart. I mean, the platform is here. It's not the end. We'll have a part 2 as well. But try your best, Mr. Mawarire. Try and unite the political parties in Zimbabwe. Try and hold hands with everyone. We are here. Hold our hands. Let's hold hands together and make Zimbabwe a better place.
peace begins with everyone. It begins with you. It begins with me. So the task to build bridges and to unite people is never an individual's task. It's for everyone. And I think Zimbabweans are yearning for unity. Zimbabweans want to do things in peace and in harmony. And that has been something that we have been getting from wherever we go as politicians. People want to be united, but it's actually us politicians who are dividing the people. We have unbridled ambitions and egos, and we have failed people dismally. But I think, like I said, the task to unite Zimbabweans should never be left to politicians alone. Civil society, the church, the common Zimbabweans. The Zimbabwean has to play their role in uniting our people and actually really fight for the kind of country that we all want. We have an obligation to our children. We have an obligation to the future generations to do that. And I would particularly leave you with a statement made by Comrade Tongogara that this country does not belong to us. It belongs to the future generations, and we should leave it a better place for them.
Thank you.